Alright, good evening everyone. As you can see, once again, we are back in Exodus Borealis. This is not really going to be a gameplay video as much as it is my 6 to 7 hour playtime impression video now. I've been playing this game for, like I said, about 6 to 7 hours now. I got a really good feel for it, and I understand the general mechanics of it so far. So, I'm going to go over little tidbits that I think could be changed, improved, what is working, what I think is not working, what maybe things that could actually be added to the game that would make it a little bit better. First off, let me say this. I would highly recommend this game. I would definitely buy it again. The dev is very receptive to comments, changes, improvements, bug reporting, everything. I've been talking to him a little bit today and the other day and yesterday, and he's very receptive. So I do really appreciate that. I do love the feedback from an actual developer on something I've made that is his product, and he's taken the time to actually view it. So I want to thank him for that. Once again, this is not sponsored or anything. I bought this game on my own free will. This is basically a mix of building like a building city type game with resource management with a tower defense aspect built into it. Now, first thing I want to get into is the graphics. The graphics in this are pretty good actually for what it is. This is not cartoony-ish. This is actually it's kind of realistic. It almost reminds me of God, what was the game called back in the day? I think Settlers 3. Um Let me double check that real fast. Yeah, Settlers 3. This is kind of a little bit what this reminds me of, at least the building structures of it, where you can build resources, build towers to fend off attacks and everything. It's actually kind of cool. All right, I want to get into, now that I mentioned resources, we got to get into the resource production aspect of this a little bit. The early game resource production is pretty straightforward. I mean, you harvest trees for wood, you turn trees into charcoal. Charcoal is basically then funneled into, let me see, it's funneled into smelters, it is funneled into mortar mills, let me see, what else? Cooking houses, great halls. Charcoal is basically the backbone of every other resource you got to make in this game. Now, this is what I want to touch on is the wood production. I had all this is all wood production. This is all wood production. This is all wood production. And this is all wood production. Early game, I was able to get away with maybe a couple of these staggered here and there, but as I'm getting into the later game, as you can see, year 22 already, I had literally had to spam all this down, all this over here, and all this up here. Probably at maybe about the year 16 mark, and I'm still just barely now keeping up with my wood production for all the towers I gotta make. So what I would maybe like to see is there are two different types of wood production. You get your dedicated trees, which are 30 wood every 2 years, and then you get your conference trees, which take 2 years and 3 seasons, which give you 50 wood. So basically, this is a 3 year and a 2 year production cycle. So you got to kind of stagger these. I would maybe either like to see the wood production amount increased to like maybe 2 years 50 wood, and then 3 years like maybe 70 or 80 wood, or lower the actual amount of years it takes to make this, like maybe 1 year for this, and then maybe 2 years flat for this. It would kind of balance it a little bit easier at the beginning and mid game to start building up everything without having to spawn like literally so many tree patches. Next thing I want to get into is the iron and steel production. Ore production for just two mines, two greater mines is solid. I I don't have any issues with keeping up with just basic ore stone production from just having two greater mines. So once you get to about mid game, you pretty much you're able to sustain stone and ore for the most part. Iron, on the other hand, I always seem to go through iron faster than I do steel. I think the ratios might need to be sped up a little bit on iron production, but steel kind of has a decent feel to it. Like I have two smelters down for steel, and they're running 24/7, and I think steel production is right about where it should be. Iron seems a little more on the slower side for having two smelters going nonstop. So maybe just tweak the iron production just a little bit. And then the same thing getting into food production now. Raw food production, I think, is set up pretty well. Um, I have plenty of plots mixed up between roots, berries, and sand fruit, and I'm not really having a raw food issue. I've always been able to maintain anywhere between 200 and 700 raw food. It is cooking the food that is actually the problem. I have one, two, I think I have three cookhouses down and two breweries down. Well, breweries, I run into charcoal issues more than anything right now, but I've kind of gotten that situated with three charcoal huts. Maybe increase charcoal production a little bit and decrease wood consumption. That could be a fix for not having being able to have so many charcoal huts out. I think two would probably be more ideal for late game production if you could get the ratios a little bit better. And then, because like I said, charcoal is used for everything. I mean, between the brewery, the grade hall, my smelter's going 24/7. I mean, I run out of charcoal too fast, especially for the amount of wood that you need to sustain three charcoal huts and build towers at the same time. Literally, I will go through 400 to 500 wood a year and I will still run out. So, and that's including trying to build a massive tower defense in between each wave. So maybe we could tweak charcoal just a little bit. Gem production is actually pretty decent. I'm not having, now that I'm getting more into the late game, I ran a few greater mines on gem production and a few normal mines on gem production to start. I think the ratios are just about right for gem production. It's not too bad. And then once you actually dedicate a greater mine to gem production, well, actually like a specific lightning gem or ice gem generator, etc., I'm averaging like maybe 1 to 3 gems per mine per year. So I'm actually starting to pull ahead on gem production for towers and booster towers and everything. So this will eventually overflow insanely just from having a few of these and then just running 6 other mines. So your gem production's right about where it should be. Next thing I want to get into is the paths. I think the stone path speed bonus can be increased just a little, not by much, maybe a 10%, 15% increase in speed. And that should pretty much even it out a little bit. It seems like the paths are only boosting speed by like maybe a factor of 10 or 15% initially without my workers being insanely fast. Increasing stone paths speed bonus just by a little would even it out just a little bit more versus them running on open terrain. Ooh, sorry about that. Okay, now speaking of terrain, this is the other thing I am really not a fan of right now. There are instances where you cannot build on terrain. Like right here, like land too rough, and then like right next door, you can build here. You should be able to at least modify the ground or something so that you are allowed to build here instead of it being a unbuildable tile. I think that might be a change that would benefit the game, especially if you start getting more condensed maps or whatever. Like, see, like this entire section down here, I could have dedicated this to other buildings, but the land is too rough, and I ran into the same issues. Like, Not exactly. Yeah, like right here, you run into issues, and then when I'm trying to like cram some of this stuff together or build it a little better in terms of symmetrical and symmetry, I'm running into like land was too rough, like right down here for some stuff, like over here, like it's just I guess maybe I'm a little bit too much of a perfectionist and it kind of takes away from the terrain challenges a little bit, but I like to actually be able to completely build on all the available land. All right, moving on to the next thing. Let me see, what did I want to touch on next? Okay, let's come back up here. I am having, I think some of the waves monsters' health is a little too extreme for the wave, I should say. I mean, some of these waves, they're literally getting through this entire row of all these towers. And I mean, half of the monsters are still alive by the time they get to this section right here. I think the hit points need to be tweaked a little bit and maybe lowered in some instances on some of the mobs, or at least what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe space them out a little bit more. Like when everything spawns, it is like a back-to-back Congo line where they're all flushed together. If maybe you could like get the mobs spaced out a little bit more, like let me get a wall up just as an example. Like if we're looking at this, like right here, like this wall is the first mob. You have like another one here, 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 etc. Instead of having like two or three clumped up in this first wall section, two or three in the next wall section, two or three here, and then basically you got 40 mobs within like the span of like just this. You basically got 40 to 60 mobs within this little line here. I mean, it would make a little more sense if maybe you have the same 40 to 60 mobs, but let me, and maybe over the span of this amount of wall. So, I mean, just kind of space them out a little bit more, and then it kind of gives your towers a little bit more time to do their work. Especially, I like the way the waves keep getting more difficult. I'm not complaining about that. That is awesome. That is the way a tower defense game should be. Every wave should always progressively keep getting harder and harder. But if it gets to the point where like your initial wave is all clumped up of all hard mobs and your initial setups can't really do anything, I mean, it kind of takes away from it a little bit, but I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling a little bit on like the health or whatever. I mean, I would love to get, instead of like 40 to 60 mobs, let's say a 50,000 hit points each, like maybe give me like 100 or 200 mobs of like maybe 10,000 hit points each, and then really have them go through the gauntlet. I mean, I would love to actually be able to build, like start at the gate, come all the way up, over, build a complete tower setup, come back here, flip it around here, and come back here, and literally just see mobs running the entire gauntlet, getting smacked non-stop by all the towers. That could just be an idea for like maybe future maps. I know this game's still heavily in early development and everything, but that's just another thing. The other thing I'm noticing is maybe some of these towers actually need to have damage upgraded a little bit. Not by much, but it seems like some of them are under par performing versus what they should be doing in terms of whether they're debuffing or they're actually doing more damage. This is the other thing. I like these blast towers here, but I would rather, I mean, I know they shoot from the bottom over, but for some reason, if you put them behind a wall, they do not work. So maybe we could get a wall or something that has a hole in it, almost like a gated wall, but it allows the blast tower to actually shoot through the wall itself, but still offering a little bit of protection to the tower. Like a modified gated wall that you could put in front of a blast tower that would have an opening in the center, but still offer turret protection, and the blast tower can actually shoot through. That would actually be kind of cool. I don't know if it would be able to be implemented or not, but otherwise, the only other way I'm finding to use these blast towers is they put them inside of a wall structure like this, or you would have to literally make a. Let me get a blast tower up. Okay, so it's going this way. You would literally need to make kind of a like an enclosure like this, and then you'd be able to shoot out still or whatever. I know it's not got the curbs or whatever, but that's just kind of like a general idea where you would have the walls on the side, the back, and then on each side, and then you can still shoot straight out. Or the other thing you can make a blast tower do is, I like the idea, another tower defense game I played actually has these. But instead of just shooting one direction, they actually shoot this way too. They shoot this way and they shoot this way. They're basically a cross pattern tower where then you could literally stick a blast tower in the middle of here, per se, and then as mobs tracked above it, around it, everything, it's going to be shooting all which ways, which is kind of cool because it gives you a little more versatility on this kind of a tower. But otherwise, I'm really enjoying this game, ladies and gentlemen. I highly suggest that you guys get it. I'm going to continue to play it. By the time some of my review videos and playthrough videos are getting posted, this game is constantly being changed. So take everything with a grain of salt right now. It's constantly being updated and modified. So what one video released in a few days might be completely different than the patch that just came out. So I got quite a few things already pre-set up and pre-played out, so when I finally do eventually get to doing some more episodes on this, a lot of things could change in the next few days. So, like I said, this game is under development. Give the developer a chance. I see a lot of potential in this becoming a very good builder and tower defense game if he keeps up at this pace. He's got a lot of cool ideas he's already shared, and I'm actually looking forward to trying them and seeing how they actually get implemented into the game as a whole. And I'm also looking forward to basically an unlimited match or an unlimited map where the waves are endless and you just go for a high score. That is something that intrigues me a ton, and I play a lot in some of my other tower defense games. So, I mean, literally, you just build up an entire map of defenses, and you just go for, see how much you can kill before they eventually wipe you out. It gives so much detail to the boosting tower abilities you got to set up. The bombardment towers you can set up for AoE damage. It gives you so much versatility for the elemental gems. I'm still figuring out this whole pinnacle system right here, but I get a good idea of how it works now. The tooltips and tutorials and everything are going to be updated too, so it'll make it a little easier for new players to figure out and actually learn how to play. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he implements that. But for the most part, I think at first I thought there were too many elements, but now that I'm starting to play around with these a lot more, there's good combos you can make, and I'll get more into that in some future videos. So thank you for listening to me ramble on this. I really hope everybody gives this game a try. Download it on Steam. There will be a link in the description below. It is a non-affiliate link, so I'm not getting any payments or anything for it. It's just simply makes it easier for you to find it on the Steam page. Download it, give it a shot. If you like tower defense games, this puts a different spin on it for sure. I mean, there's going to be a learning curve to it. This has been a solid playthrough. I've not restarted this map at all. It's a little bit complicated at the start, but once you get the hang of it and once you figure out the supply chains and the production chains and everything, it's actually very easy to play and maintain. Oh, that was the last thing I wanted to touch on. Population. You need to be, something needs to be implemented in this game where you can stop the population from expanding. Whether it's you cap out on housing capacity or something, because as of right now, my population's way too big. I don't need this many because once all these kids grow up, I know they're eventually going to still need to replace all my other citizens in this little community, but the population's just exploding like rabbits right now. Like literally, this was just from 1 year right here. All, what, 11 of these kids were born. So something needs to be implemented where you can turn off population breeding for a while, whether it's an auto cap on housing capacity or an option that you maybe can input into like a citizens menu where you can stop citizens from multiplying. That would be a big help because eventually, probably another 2 or 3 years, I'm going to probably have over 100 citizens in this map. So that needs to get fixed or modified or something, or I'm going to have to figure a way to kill off my citizens. So, all right, thank you for listening to this video, guys. And I hope you try this game out. And if you like it, head over to the Discord channel for this game and give the developer some props. And like always, I will catch you guys at the next one. Take care, and I hope you guys try this game and you enjoy it.